Hey guys, sorry I didn't record last week. It was a crazy week. I can't wait to hear about your weeks. Please feel free to email me and let me know what's going on with you guys. We left off last week we had just started in chapter 17 when Stargirl had announced um, that she knew that Leo was just totally and madly in love with her. So this is where we left off. To the person who expects every desert to be barren sand dunes, the Sonoran must come as a surprise. Not only are there no dunes, there's no sand. At least not the sort of sand you find at the beach. The ground does have a sandy color to it, or gray, but your feet won't sink in it. It's hard, as if it's been tamped, and pebbly and glinting with what else? Mica. But you don't notice the ground much. What you notice are the sakuras. To the newcomer from the east, it's as simple as that. The desert seems to be brown wasteland of dry, prickly scrub whose only purpose is to serve as a setting for the majestic sakuras. Then little by little the plants of the desert begin to identify themselves. The porcupiney yucca, the beaver tail and prickly pear and barrel cacti, buckhorn and staghorn and devil's fingers, the tall sky-reaching tendrils of the ocotillo. We walked a weaving line around the plant life, up and down washes and gullies, the Maricopa's looming lavender in the distance. When you turned and ran that day, she said, I called after you. You did? I whispered. Whispered? How did you expect me to hear? I don't know, she said. I just thought that you would. I strummed the ukulele. I squared my shoulders. Giving a rat a ride improves the posture. You're shy, aren't you? She said. What makes you think that? She laughed. Were you embarrassed when I pulled you along after school today, all those kids looking? Nah. Are you lying? Yeah. She laughed. I seemed to be good at making her laugh. I glanced back. The highway was out of sight. Do you have the time? I said. Nobody has the time, she said. The time cannot be owned. She threw out her arms and twirled till her multicolored skirt looked like a pinwheel taffy. The time is free to everyone. Sorry I asked, I said. She hung her sunflower bag on a cactus arm and cartwheeled toward the Maricarpus. Crazily, I felt like joining her. I told myself I couldn't because I was loaded down with a ukulele and a rat. I picked up her bag and followed. When she decided to walk like a normal human again, I told her she was goofy. She stopped, turned to me, and bowed grandly. Thank you, good sir. Then she took my arm as if she were strolling down a promenade, and she said, Scream, Leo. Huh? Just throw your head back and let it all out. Scream your ears off. Nobody will hear you. Why would I want to do that? She turned her astonished eyes on me. Why wouldn't you? I pointed to Cinnamon. If he screams first, then I will. And I changed the subject. Are we ever going to get to this enchanted place? I felt silly just saying the words. Just a little farther, she said. I humored her. So how do you know an enchanted place when you come to it? You'll see, she said. She squeezed my hand. Did you know there's a country with officially designated enchanted places? No, I said. Where would that be? Oz? Iceland? Imagine that. I'm ignoring your sarcasm. I think it would be neat if we had that here. You'd be walking or riding along, and there would be this stone marker with a brass plate, Enchanted Site, U.S. Department of Interior. We'd litter it up, I said. She stared at me, her smile gone. Would we? I felt bad, as if I'd ruined something. Not really, I told her. Not if there's a Don't Be a Litter Bug sign. A minute later, she stopped. We're here. I looked around. The place couldn't have been more ordinary. The only notable presence was a tall, dilapidated sakura, a bundle of sticks in worse shape than Archie's Senor. The rest was gray scrub and tumbleweed and a few prickly pears. I thought it might look different, I said. Special, scenic? Well, yeah, I guess. It's a different kind of scenery, she said. Your shoes off. We pulled off our shoes. Sit. We sat legs crossed. Cinnamon scampered down my arm and onto the ground. Stargirl shrieked, Stop! She scooped up the rat and put him in her bag. Owls, hawks, snakes. He'd be a tasty meal. So, I said, when does the enchantment start? We were sitting side by side facing the mountains. It started when the earth was born. Her eyes were closed. Her face was golden in the setting sun. It never stops. It is always. It's just here. So what do we do? She smiled. That's the secret. Her cupped hands rested in her lap. We do nothing, or as close to nothing as we can. Her face turned slowly to me, though her eyes remained closed. Have you ever done nothing? I laughed. My mother thinks I do it all the time. Don't tell her I said so, but your mother is wrong. She turned back to the sun. It's really hard to do nothing totally. Even just sitting here, like this, our bodies are churning, our minds are chattering. There's a whole commotion going on inside us. That's bad, I said. It's bad if we want to know what's going on outside ourselves. Well, don't we have eyes and ears for that? She nodded. They're okay most of the time. But sometimes they just get in the way. The earth is speaking to us, but we can't hear because all of the racket our senses are making. Sometimes we need to erase them, erase our senses, then maybe the earth will touch us. The universe will speak. The stars will whisper. The sun was glowing orange now, clipping the mountain's purple crest. So how do I become this nothing? I'm not sure, she said. There's no one answer to that. You have to find your own way. Sometimes I try to erase myself. I imagine a big pink soft soap eraser, and it's going back and forth, and it starts down at my toes and back and forth, and there they go. Poof, my toes are gone, and then my feet, and then my ankles. But that's the easy part. The hard part is erasing my senses, my eyes, my ears, my nose, my tongue. At last to go is my brain, my thoughts, memories, all the voices inside my head. That's the hardest, erasing my thoughts, she chuckled faintly. My pumpkin, and then if I've done a good job, I'm erased. I'm good. I'm nothing. And then the world is free to flow into me like water into an empty bowl. And, I said, and I see, I hear, but not with my eyes and ears. I'm not outside my world anymore, and I'm not really inside it either. The thing is, there's no difference anymore between me and the universe. The boundary is gone. I am it, and it is me. I'm a stone, a cactus thorn. I am rain. She smiled dreamily. I like that most of all, being rain. Am I the first one you've brought out here? She didn't answer. She faced the mountains, bathed in sun syrup. Her face was still as peaceful as I'd ever seen a face. Stargirl, shh. That was the last sound either of us made for a long time. We sat by side, lotus style, facing west. I closed my eyes. I tried to be perfectly still and promptly found out that she was right. I could immobilize my arms and legs, but inside me it was a rush hour in downtown Phoenix. I had never been so aware of my breath and my heartbeat, not to mention other assorted grumblings and gurglings. In my head, it just wouldn't close down. Every question, every stray thought from miles around came wandering into my brain, sniffing about, scratching at my attention. But I tried the eraser, but it wouldn't even wipe out my first toe. I tried to imagine I was sawdust blowing away with the wind, swallowed by a whale, dissolving away like Alka-Seltzer. Nothing worked. I could not make myself disappear. I peeked. I knew I wasn't supposed to, but I did. Clearly she had erased herself. She was gone. She was serenity, her lips faintly smiling, her golden skin, the glowing thread ends of her hair. She seemed to have dipped in sunlight and set them here to dry. I felt a pang of jealousy that she could be sitting next to me and not know it, that she couldn't be somewhere most wonderful and I could not be there too. Then I saw the rat. He had crawled out of the bag. He was sitting on it much as we were, his front paws. I kept thinking of them as tiny hands. They were so human-like, dangling before him. He too was not moving. He too was facing the sunset. His pelt the color of a new penny. His peppercorn eyes were fully opened. I knew it must have been a trick she had taught him, or imitative rodent behavior. Still, I couldn't help thinking there was more to it, that the whiskered little fellow was having an experience of his own. which might include digestion in a critter's stomach if Stargirl's fears come true. As quietly as possible, I reached over and scooped him up. I held him in both hands. He did not struggle or squirm, but resumed facing the sunset with his tiny chin resting on my forefinger. In my fingertips, I could feel his heartbeat. I drew him closer to my chest. I dared any varmint to come near. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes for another try at enchantment. I don't think I succeeded. I think Cinnamon was a better eraser than I. I tried so hard, I almost squeaked, but I could not seem to leave myself, and the cosmos did not visit me. I could not stop wondering what time it was. But something did happen, a small thing. I was aware of stepping over a line, of taking one direction, one step into territory new to me. It was a territory of peace, of silence. I had never experienced such utter silence before, such stillness. The commotion within me went on, but at a lower volume, as if someone had turned down my dial. And an eerie thing happened. While I never did totally lose awareness of myself, I believe I did, so to speak, lose Cinnamon. I no longer felt his pulse, his presence in my hands. It seemed we were no longer separate, but were one. When the sun fell behind the mountains, I felt it as a faint coolness on my face. I don't know how long my eyes were closed. When I opened them, she was gone. Alarmed, I jerked around. She was standing off a ways, smiling. Evening had come. While my eyes were closed, the mountain's dusky lavender had drifted over the desert. We put on our shoes. We headed for the highway. I expected her to interrogate me, but she did not. One moment the moon was not there, and then it was. Then one bright star. We walked across the desert hand in hand, saying nothing. Chapter 18. I'm going to start chapter 18, but we've only got a couple of minutes. We were alone. We were the only ones in school, at least that's how it seemed in the following days. As I went about my day, I felt her going about hers. I sensed her movement, her presence in distant parts of the building. Walking the hall between classes, I didn't have to see her. I knew she was there. Unseen in the mob heading my way, about to turn a corner 5 classroom doors down, I honed in on the beacon of her smile as we approached each other. The noise and the students around us melted away, and we were utterly alone. Passing, smiling, holding each other's eyes, floors and walls gone, 2 people in a universe of space and stars. And then one day I began to discover that we were more alone than I dreamed. It was a Thursday. Normally on that day, after 3rd period, Stargirl and I would pass each other on the 2nd floor around the teacher's lounge. We would smile and